Alright, so this week we are going to make a little bird bath to put in the yard of your dollhouse. This one has a little more drying to do, but it's not cooperating with me. So stay tuned and see how easy and fun this project is. Okay, we're going to attempt to record this without all the lights on because I had the thermometer laying on my table right here and it's 90 degrees in here without the lights on. So please forgive the fact that that this video is a little on the dark side. It's just too hot. Please forgive me. So this bird feeder, or bird bath, that's what I want to say, bird bath. My brain is fried too from the heat. This is something I've been asked about several times over the years, and I had not been able to find these little wooden plates. And I found some the other day when I was out shopping. I think, it's been a month or so ago. I think I got these at Craft Warehouse. They were back by the wooden parts, you know, all the little wooden things. So you need one of those. You need either three of these little wooden, I have glitter all over everything. 3 of these little wooden spools, or you could use little wooden pots. You need a wooden disc, and this is about the same size as the plate, and you need a bamboo skewer that will fit through the hole in the spools if you're using the spools. If you're using the pots, you'll have to do without that. And the plate is approximately 1.25 inches in diameter. And we need some glue. So the first thing we are going to do, and you can make this shorter, or you could probably make it taller if you wanted to. I'm going to, hopefully I've got a pencil. I'm going to draw a line here because what I want to do is I want to cut this skewer off just a little bit shorter than the stack of spools. This just gives it a little more stability, and it's optional. So the first step, and I'm going to do this project in probably pretty short steps so that I can get out of the hot. We're going to start out by putting some glue down here, and don't worry about glue oozing out. We are going to fix that when we come back. Down in the hole, and we're going to drop the next one on top of it. And they're kind of wiping up the glue that's excess there. You don't want any big gobs out, but if there's some extra glue, that's okay. It's up to you how particular you are about this being in the middle. We're going to make it look like it's a dirt area under it, so it's okay. A little drop of glue, dab of glue there on the bottom of that bowl. And there. And this, let me put my lid on my glue because I know from experience this heat is making my glue run all over. This whole thing is about 2.5 inches tall. So that'll give you an idea. If you can't find the spools, use something else. If you can't find the little wooden plate, you could use a bottle cap maybe for that top part if you wanted to. So I'm going to let this glue dry. I'm going to go where it's a little cooler, and when this is dry, I'll be back and we'll start painting. Alright, one advantage of this horrifically hot weather is that my glue dried really quickly. So I've got some brown craft paint. This is Delta Ceramic Coat in Autumn Brown. I don't need very much of this. We're just going to paint this base. Don't worry if you get a little bit up on the clay pot, or the spools, because we're going to paint them in a little bit. And we're actually going to cover this, but this is a base coat. Alright. There. Now that needs to dry. I didn't even need that much paint. That needs to dry, and when that paint is dry, I'll be back. Alright, now that the brown paint is dry, we are going to do a base coat of some gray. And the gray I have today is just Bridgeport gray from Ceramicoat. We're going to basically paint everything we didn't paint the other day. I'm kind of rolling this here so I don't get too much down on the brown. We are going to be adding texture on our next step. So I'm not too concerned about paint that isn't staying exactly where I put it. Alright, so that needs to dry, and when that paint is dry, I'll be back and we'll start adding some texture. Alright, our gray paint is dry, so now we are going to add some texture where we put that gray paint. Now I have some matte finish Mod Podge. You could use like a white glue that dries clear, that's fine. I happen to have this here. I like the matte finish. Now the reason we put the gray paint underneath, in case you're wondering, because we are going to paint over this again too. I paint gray underneath the Mod Podge so that in case the second coat of paint doesn't cover too well, because sometimes it won't, and then you'd end up with wood showing through. Okay, so I'm coating this. I have a hair stuck to it. Alright. Another hair stuck to it. Alright, now let that sit, and it'll become a little more tacky as it sits. We don't want it to sit very long though. But I picked up this package of sand. I picked this up at Dollar Tree this morning actually. Okay, I'll go find a container for it. Should have opened this, I guess, beforehand, but I didn't think of it. Alright. Now, got the brown base we can hold on to it with. We are just going to run this It doesn't have to coat completely. There. Now we'll let that dry, and then I'll come back and we'll paint another coat of the gray paint over it to color the sand. Alright, this is probably not all the way dry, but I think it's dry enough that we can move on. Got a little more of this gray paint. And now we're going to paint over this. This will probably take a little more paint than the first coat did. But by adding texture, it doesn't look exactly like concrete, but kind of. It just gives it a little more character. A little more paint. Yeah, if we hadn't base coated it, there's a possibility that we would have seen some wood through this coat of paint. And just a little more in there. And it looks like I got a big gray thumbprint down there. So I'm going to show you if you can see that on camera. I managed to get a gray thumbprint. So the easy way to fix that Let's just take a Q-tip. There, all better. Now this needs to dry, and then we can put some dirt on the base and put some water in the top. All right, so the first thing we're going to do on our next step is get a couple of wet wipes, because we're going to spread some glue around with our finger. There's some tacky glue, and I have my container with the coffee grounds in it. And again, we put the brown paint on this part because we didn't want the wood to show through underneath our dirt. Now you could decorate this with little plants or with a little path. I've done some really fancy ones sometimes, and sometimes I do them really simple like I'm showing you today. Dress it up or down, whatever will go in your scene. Now the easiest way to do this is to glue off your finger. Let's put the cap on the glue before I lose it. And just there. That has dirt now. So let's save a step, save some time here. Let's put our water in. Now you can use my paint's still wet, so we're not going to put the water in yet. We'll put the water in after that paint's all dry. So that's all there is to adding the dirt. I'm not going to worry about it being up on the sides a little bit. It just looks like it's in the garden. When the paint is all the way dry, I'll be back. This is the reason the glue's drying so fast and the paints are drying so fast today. Yeah, there's way too much red in this thermometer this week. Thought I'd show you that. Okay, so we have our bird bath. The paint is dry now. I'm going to use crystal clear gallery glass. You could probably also use triple thick. That would probably work just as well. This is just my preference. And it goes in white, and then it dries clear. And you kind of tap it. And it sometimes will sink in the middle, so if it does, you may have to add another little bit to the middle to level it out. That's all there is to it. That just needs to sit until it turns clear. And when that happens, I'll be back. Alright, so this took about, let's see, I did this Friday afternoon and it's Sunday morning, almost noon on Sunday, so it took quite a while to dry. I put the gallery glass in probably a little thicker than I should have. And normally to dry this, what I do is I put it underneath my lights, but it's too hot in the house to put it under the lights, so I thought it would dry just fine out in the air. But I think we're too humid right now for that, because it's not only really hot, but it's really humid and sticky, so it didn't dry as fast. It will continue to clear up. This will turn completely clear, and when it does, I think I will probably add a little more, but I don't want to add any more until this is completely clear. But I hope you enjoyed this project. Be sure and check the blog post. I'll give you a few more details there and talk to you a little bit about the products I use and some alternatives that you can do to make it yours and make it different. Find us on Facebook, because there's where we can talk really quickly. I usually check the Facebook page multiple times during the day, and I can answer short questions from my smartphone. Longer questions, I wait till I'm home to use the computer. So I hope you enjoyed the project. Come back next week and see what we do then. Bye.